Desmond Shaw is live overhead with more. Desmond.
Indeed, here we go, guys. We are southbound on the 110 here, coming out of the South LA area, coming up to the 91 freeway. We picked up this chase here with this little black Fiat 500. These are pretty zippy little cars. For some reason, he has his hazard lights on, but we picked this up out of the Northeast Division. We believe that this is, once again, a stolen vehicle, and I'll zoom out here, and you'll see there are actually, well, there were, I believe there still are quite a few units in pursuit. This is primarily LAPD. They're talking about handing it off to the CHP since we are on the freeway, and we do have the LAPD chopper overhead there. That's the spotlight you see. They had to abandon the chase for a little bit because this was going in what's called the critical area of LAX's airspace, and so the chopper had to bail from this chase for a little bit. You see you're stuck behind this flyover ramp here. Give us a second here. We'll try to get to the other side of the freeway. We can't interfere with the LAPD chopper there on the other side of the freeway, but there he is. Okay, so he's continuing southbound 110. And as I was saying, the chopper actually had to abandon the chase momentarily because they were heading west towards the LAX airspace. But then he reversed course, was going eastbound on Manchester for quite some time, was back in the South LA area, and then picked up the southbound 110, and that is where we find the chase now with this suspected stolen vehicle southbound on the 110. Haven't seen any really crazy speeds at this point, but yeah, kind of peculiar with the flashers on, and this is where we stand at right now, guys.
Desmond, what would you estimate this person is going right now on the freeway? It doesn't look to be a high-speed pursuit, but again, any pursuit is not safe at all. It looks like he has about 4 or 5 patrol cars behind him, keeping their distance.
Yeah, definitely not high speeds, not that we've seen at this point. In fact, you can see there to the top of the shot, some other vehicles are actually going faster than this guy. So far, as far as speeds go, this has been a pretty pedestrian chase, I would say. We're still southbound on the 110 though, and these little cars, I do believe this is the Barth version of the Fiat. That's the really sporty one. I believe this is just a standard Fiat 500. These are still fairly peppy little cars. Now, I did hear LAPD talking about they wanted to end this. They were talking about initiating a pit maneuver. They have officers that are on this chase that are pit maneuver qualified, pursuit intervention technique. So they now it looks like our speeds are beginning to pick up now. Now at this point, of course, right after I say that the speeds weren't too bad, now we're starting to get a little more pedal to the metal here, and we're starting to see how zippy this little car is. But they were talking about wanting to initiate a pit maneuver when possible. It sounded like they were really trying to do it on surface streets back in Manchester from what we heard earlier, just before we picked up this chase. But apparently they were not able to do that, and so now we are traveling towards the San Pedro area into the Southgate, or rather the South Bay area in the San Pedro area at the end of the 110 freeway, and speeds are definitely picking up at this point.
And Desmond, it's a Sunday night, obviously not a lot of traffic on the freeway right now, especially since it's Father's Day. Did you see this driver acting erratically or dangerously before?
I did not. We didn't hear anything too erratic, although actually, now that I think of it, I did hear LAPD say they were trying to tell their other units to watch out for cross traffic in the area. That was at one of the intersections in South LA before we got a visual of this. So he may have been driving fairly erratically earlier on, just before we picked up. And again, we are beginning to really see these speeds pick up here. I would probably estimate above 80 miles an hour at this point as we continue southbound on the 110. And we'll be coming up here into the ports of Los Angeles here in no time.
Okay, that's a pretty dicey area if you're engaging police in a pursuit there, if you're down in the port area. Desmond, could you pull out the shot a little wider just so we could see how many patrol cars are on his tail? And also, now that you've widened the shot, we can see some of those patrol cars getting closer and closer to him, a lot closer than they were even just maybe a couple of minutes ago. Maybe the situation's getting a little bit more intense because he is heading toward the port area, but he's also picking up speed as well.
Yeah, hard to say. A lot of these times what we've been seeing is when the authorities really get up on their bumper and get up close behind them, that's when we start to see these really fast speeds, and they kind of start behaving like caged animals and really start to ram on that gas pedal. That's kind of what we're seeing now at this point. So they're still, at this point, I think, actually just after you said that, they did back off a little bit. But quite a few units here in pursuit. We had heard I believe the lead car here actually called for 3 more units to join him on this pursuit. Was not sure the reasoning of that. Haven't heard about the suspect being armed and dangerous or anything like that. We just know that this is a suspected stolen vehicle. Has its hazard lights on. It's the first time I think I've seen that. And really peppy little zippy Fiat 500 here, headed towards the ports of Los Angeles.
And just to recap for folks who are now just joining us here on KCAL 9 News, this stolen Fiat reported on Manchester in South LA about a half hour ago. That driver then got onto the 110 and just went straight down south, where you can see right now he's in the South Bay area. He was a little slow at first, not going very fast, but then suddenly he picked up. He's now going about 80 to 90 miles an hour, and you can see he's got his emergency lights flashing. Several police vehicles en route trying to track him down. Desmond also mentioned that they also tried a pit maneuver on Manchester, but that didn't work. So now you can see this driver still going pretty fast in the South Bay area. I believe this is near 228th Street, right near the 110. Desmond, what can you tell us right now?
Yeah, we continue to really fly along here southbound on the 110, and we should be at the end of the freeway here in not too much time at all. I'm looking up ahead, and I can see where the freeway terminates onto Gaffey Street here as you get into the heart of San Pedro and the heart and the ports of Los Angeles. He'll also have an option, though, to cut east on the Vincent Thomas Bridge towards Long Beach. So we'll just have to see what the suspect decides to do here. And finally turned his flashers off there. had those on that entire time. I don't know. Maybe he's listening in on the internet here to KCAL 9 and heard me talking about the peculiarity. But the flashers are now off. Regardless, though, you know, they shouldn't have any problem losing this car. We have the airship overhead. There's no other airspace restrictions for that LAPD chopper overhead with the spotlight. We're not in any kind of restricted territory where he will have any issues staying on top of this chase. So it is a black car that can certainly hinder things at night, but I don't anticipate this being a problem.
Hey, Desmond, I was just about to say, at least with his hazards on, they can keep a better eye on him since it is nighttime. And of course, right on cue, he turns them off. Also, when we talked about him going slower speeds, all of a sudden it was a strange coincidence that he picked up the speeds to about 80 miles an hour.
You almost have to wonder if he is listening somehow. You know, we do stream our newscasts online, and sometimes people can listen in with their smartphone. So it is interesting that suddenly he started to change tactics once we mentioned certain things. So something just to keep in mind. But obviously, this driver still going pretty fast. Looks like he may be kind of coasting along here. It almost looked like he was sort of weaving into another lane here on the 110. Now definitely heading closer to the port of Los Angeles in the South Bay area. I think he's in San Pedro right now. Desmond, how many more police vehicles would you say are starting to now join this chase?
Well, let me just pull out here. It's kind of hard for me to see out the other side of the window and how many units, but when we were just getting up on the chase, I think I counted at least 10 cruisers. There were 3 or 4 kind of pretty close here, not too far behind him, and then there were about 4 or 5 more. Actually, my pilot Marcus just told me he counts 10 cruisers now down below, and most of them are well behind that lead car there that you see. He's just about 100 feet back or so. And it looks like we are going to get off of the freeway now, the end of the Harbor Freeway coming up to Gaffey Street. And we'll see what his next move is. He just missed the opportunity to take the Vincent Thomas Bridge eastbound. And yeah, we'll be getting down to the San Pedro area. I was just telling my pilot today that this is one of the few areas of LA where I have not spent a great deal of time. But I do know that the freeway ends here onto Gaffey Street, and we'll see if the speeds continue, or if he behaves a little better. Ooh. Well, not really so much there.
Doesn't appear he is going.
Typical LA maneuver cutting.
Ooh, doesn't appear he is going to behave.
He's turning. No, and now he is going to be heading westbound, so back towards now back southbound. Try to get some streets for you. Actually, I believe he may be eastbound now at this point, but into the residential areas now of the San Pedro area. Here comes a stop sign, which he just completely blows as if it wasn't even there, and. Yeah, doesn't look like does not look like he wants to give up, that's for sure. Perhaps this is where he's from, you know, I don't know. It's always always perplexing when they drive into these neighborhoods.
Going over the double
he's
yellow
just blown
lines
4 or 5
there.
stop signs now, guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is where things get
blowing stop
pretty
signs
dangerous.
left and right.
Because, you know, when we first saw him, he was on the freeway. Now he's on surface streets near homes. And as we just saw, he is just plowing through these intersections, not regarding the stop signs or the traffic lights at all. And you just have to worry for folks and other drivers who are out on the streets right now. It is a Sunday night. A lot of people.
Yep.
Oh.
Well, here we go.
Right.
Okay,
This is it,
here we
guys.
go.
It's over. Yeah, he just pulled into a cul-de-sac here. Not sure if this is where he lives or what. This chase is over. Now let's see if this turns into a standoff or if this guy surrenders peacefully. This is a black Fiat 500. Suspected stolen vehicle was out of the Northeast Division of LAPD, and we are right in the San Pedro area, not too far off of Gaffey Street. And I just heard Westmoreland Avenue. I just heard LAPD mention that. And as you can see now with guns drawn out here, and this has now become a pretty tense, looks like might be a standoff situation. I'll pull out here and show you just how many units are getting in on the end of their pursuit here. There's at least 5 there that I count, and actually 6, and there's certainly going to be some more rolling up. So let's see what the suspect decides to do. Trying to determine how many people are in the car there, and
Yeah, I'm trying to use the light there from your chopper and the LAPD chopper when it does flash over the car to see who else might be in there aside from the driver. But it looks like, Desmond, to me, that this person started to drive erratically down the residential streets and found him or herself at a dead-end street in a cul-de-sac, pulled up in a driveway. This may be their home, it may not, but at any rate, they had nowhere else to go. And now this is turning into a standoff situation.
The door's opening.
The driver's side door is opening.
He's got door is opening. He's got. I see a hand up there. Looks like hopefully that means he's getting ready to surrender here. Listening to LAPD talk about it here. They've still got weapons drawn. We're gonna see if maybe we can swing around here and give you guys a better angle. But here we go. It looks like a female. Looks like a female driver here that's gotten out of the car, out of that black Fiat 500. Was, again, not sure if they just turned down a wrong street and didn't realize. We see a lot of chases in that way when they don't know where they're going and they end up turning down a cul-de-sac. But this one is over. Looks like she's decided, she realizes that it's now game over, and she is going to do what LAPD are telling her to back away, and I'm sure soon she will be on the ground in handcuffs, guys.
And there she goes. She's been ordered to get down to the ground on her knees and eventually probably lie flat on her stomach so that police can come over, and there she goes, come over and finish this off by handcuffing her and taking her into custody. They'll check the car to see if there's anyone else inside of the car, but it looks like at this point, except for a few hair-raising moments, things have ended peacefully.
Which is good, and things do seem to be coming to a peaceful end. This driver involved in what police are saying was a stolen vehicle in South LA, now coming to an end here in San Pedro outside a home. So, as you mentioned, also the good news is it doesn't appear to be anyone hurt or any serious injuries as a result of this chase. So, coming to a peaceful end right now.
There is another person,
guys. There is.
Right
yes, you're right, Desmond. The passenger door has just opened right now, and that person, I suspect, is also at gunpoint being told to do the very same thing. Back out slowly, hands up in the air, and it looks like another female.
Looks like it might be another woman, yeah.
And she's doing the same thing that the driver has been asked to do, to back out slowly. It's a small car, so I don't suspect we'll see any more people popping out of the car. It's possible maybe 1 or 2, but
they seem to be
unless it's a clown car, I think this is going to be the only 2.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me, Desmond. 2 female suspects here involved in this chase. One the driver, one the passenger.
Whoa.
And here's just under the right side of the screen is from earlier. Oh, wait, there is someone else coming out of the car. So there's a third
person here. Indeed.
I was not aware that car could fit that many people inside of it.
This is a Fiat.
I think that you have a pretty tiny back seat, but let's see if this turns into a clown car situation.
I was about to say, I'm thinking of the circus right now for some reason.
And it appears the third person coming out of the car, or just came out of the car, that looks like a male from here.
Yes.
Could be wrong. It's hard to tell from here, but that looks like that is a male passenger who has also come out of the car. I spoke too soon. This car apparently can hold quite a few people. More than I thought. They were packed in there.
Well, now LAPD's even going, geez, how many people are inside this car here? So now they're getting up, making sure that there's not 5 more people inside.
Let's hope not, for everyone's safety here, but I don't, usually you don't see the LAPD approach like this unless they feel that it's pretty safe to go ahead and approach the vehicle and that most of the danger is probably gone and contained, and it looks like it is, with the 3 suspects there down on the ground. This police pursuit didn't last very long, maybe about 10 minutes from the time we picked it up, but it was reported at first a stolen vehicle on Manchester. The driver, female driver, led police, LAPD, on a chase on the 110 southbound through San Pedro, and now here we are in a cul-de-sac in a residential neighborhood where the chase has come to an end. At one point, though, the chase did get up to speeds of 80 miles per hour. It started out slowly at first, but then they sped up. About 10 police cruisers were on this driver's tail at one point, and they did talk about trying to perform the pit maneuver when she was on surface streets before she hopped on the 110. They didn't get a chance to do that, but fortunately, they didn't have to engage in this pursuit too much longer once she ran into a dead-end street and into that cul-de-sac. And here we are with 3 suspects on the ground, being handcuffed and being taken into custody.
And you know what's interesting, Elsa? Usually when we cover pursuits, and we've covered a lot, you'll usually see just the driver, maybe one other passenger, but I don't remember the last time we saw 3 people, and especially in one small car like this. So it's pretty interesting that 3 people were inside this Fiat, but the good news is they're all now in handcuffs, and you can see that the officers have even opened the trunk just to examine that as well. So coming to a peaceful end here in San Pedro, and it appears that there are no reports of any injuries. So that's the good news in all this.
All right, turning now to our other